trending, but I think that Sidney Crosby adds a more of a dimensional approach when it comes to the first line, which is no longer known as the SBK line, it's something else. But um, Penguins heading into the third period, leading 5-0. So Penguins are good. They just need to get better. There just needs to be a lot more consistent play, and for them not to live in their fears in the sense of are we too busy worried about the corrections and not focusing on playing. So those are two different aspects to that. So hopefully they can get back on the winning side of things and really get going.
Yeah, the Penguins are just. Oh yeah, that's a big topic around here. It's like, what is wrong with them? I mean, people are saying, well, get rid of everybody except for like the top four guys, or it's the GM's fault for getting these players, or they don't care, or they're not committed, or something. But I mean, I think tonight's game is an example of just them saying enough is enough. We're not gonna, because the last game they were up 4-1 and then they ended up losing 5-4. So now they're not leaving anything to chance. They're just gonna kick butt the whole way. So I think the Penguins will be okay because there's just too much talent there. I think they'll figure it out. Maybe they need to make some adjustments, but I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I do as well. But as far as the Steelers are concerned, really deep into Week 10, headed to Week 11. A lot of questions for that Steelers offensive line. Now, Matt Filer's dealing with a pectoral problem. Marcus Gilbert's been injured consistently, and now their draft pick, Chukwuma Okorafor, is getting an opportunity to start his first start, and will have to take on the likes of Von Miller. He's a big guy. He's thick. He's very active. He's got great feet, great motion, good off the snap. My biggest question is, how is he going to handle Von Miller? Von Miller, seasoned pro, MVP, caliber kind of player. He's going to have his work cut out for him, no doubt about it. But I think that if they can put up that kind of double team against Vaughn to prevent, I think that Ben will have enough time. I can tell you this: Ben will get sacked at least once in this game, at least once. Only for the simple fact that because he is new, he hasn't started before. He's not familiar with the NFL game speed. You can practice all you want. You can throw yourself into training camp all you want. It doesn't mean that you're NFL speed. It just does not mean that. So I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to get it done, get rid of it in a timely manner. You're going to see a lot more of James Conner in the offset, maybe in the slant, maybe a slot receiver, maybe on the outside. But there's something similar, and I don't want to bring up Le'Veon Bell's name too much in this, but I think when you look at James Conner, and it's not that I'm salty because he deserves to get paid. He just is with the wrong team to get the kind of money that he's looking for, because the Steelers historically have never paid any running back, including Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis, Franklin Harris, Rocky Bleier, the list goes on and on and on. Even the likes of Richard Mendenhall, who wasn't very good. They're never going to pay that kind of money for any running back. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. But I think they're going to use James Conner in the same respects that they use Le'Veon Bell on the outside, in the slot. As a matter of fact, the Steelers have been more productive off the line with James Conner than they had with Le'Veon Bell. What that translates into, I don't get into speculatives, but I will say this: they're gaining more ground per carry. May not be on in the air per se, but when you're rushing for 312 yards so far this season, that's pretty good. When your running back's on pace for almost 1,000 yards, you're doing something right. And I think the Steelers are definitely doing something right in that regard. As far as the other side of the ball, has a lot to desire. There's a couple of reasons why. Joe Hayden finds himself out of position a lot of the time, just in the sense that you're giving too much cushion at the line. Ball snap, you have to play man, but it has to be tighter man. You can't give them 5 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards. You have to be on your man. If you're playing man zone, if you're playing nickel, then you're in the coverage situation. I think the Steelers have been doing a relatively decent job in the man zone department. The problem that I have with this game is they look 4-6 doesn't necessarily tell you who the Broncos are, but they're going to bring pressure, and there's going to be some pretty different looks defensively to try to stop that running game. But Ben Roethlisberger knows how to pull it out. He did it against Jacksonville. He's the kind of guy. I remember the conversation he had with Coach Bill Cowher, and of course I have the inside scoop with the video from NFL Network that shows the conversation because they were mic'd up. And one thing that Coach Cowher told him is that have a short memory. Forget about it. Don't remember it. It doesn't matter. That was then. This is now. That was the last play. It doesn't matter. So I think Ben Roethlisberger has kind of kept that as a part of his demeanor, part of his personality. He makes a mistake, he forgets about it, goes back, and sometimes he makes the same mistake, and the majority of the time he doesn't. So I think Ben did get this, to the likes of Juju Smith-Schuster, of course, at a USC. Funny story about Juju for half a moment. SC product. I'm from Southern California. I attended a couple of games. I thought to myself, that guy's ahead of himself in a variety of ways, personally, athletically, as well as from a football IQ. He did run spread routes and things of that nature at USC. But I was I was leading the NFL draft in Arlington, and I had my Steeler hat on, of course. Now, I did buy a draft hat there, which I probably should have, because in California you can't get Steelers hats. It's almost impossible to find one. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Really?
Yeah, no, they're almost hard to find. But his aunt had asked me, she says, Sonny, she says, do you know a guy by the name of John Sherman? And I said, who? John Sherman? She said, he plays for the Steelers. And I said, Juju? His name is John Sherman? Juju? And she says, yeah, we call him John Sherman. He goes by Juju. I said, oh. I said, yeah, I don't know him, I told her, but I'm familiar with him, from watching him on TV and at the Coliseum and such. And so I asked her, I said, would you mind doing me a favor and contacting Juju and asking him to come on the Dog Show? So I gave her my number to give to him. And, of course, I haven't heard anything back.
Oh, my God, you're right. His name is John Sherman.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, there you go.
Huh.
You are informed.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
You have to. Wow. It's just one of those things. But, yeah, so I look at this. I look at this team, and I think the record is very indicative of who they are right now. And I don't say that to be connotative. I don't say that to be disheartening, because I'm a fan. I believe black and gold like any other Steeler fan. But the 7-2 is a pretty good marker of where they're at right now, from their style of play, from that game in Jacksonville to the opening, tying against Cleveland. Look, if you're going to tie against Cleveland, that's a loss. It's not a tie. Really. It's a loss. And, of course, the Browns aren't doing all that well either. And I had predicted them to jump the Cincinnati Bengals, but they still have yet to do that as they find themselves 3-6-1. But what really worries me in this division is, I'm going to go with Baltimore, and here's why. Now Joe Flacco's hurt, and I think he had a hip issue that prevented him from playing. Lamar Jackson brings a lot. I interviewed Lamar at the draft as well, and his whole moniker is at least I got picked in the first round. I got picked in the first round. Every question that was going by, did you think you were going to get picked? At least got picked in the first round. Jeez. 32nd overall is not really a high ceiling. However, in talking to him, interviewing him, he's a very humble young man out of Louisville. He's a good player. It's his rookie season, right? We remember Ben Roethlisberger coming out for injured Tommy Maddox. He had the hot hand. but he found himself making a lot of miscues and mistakes. Well, Lamar Jackson's kind of in the same realm of making those types of mistakes. Both gunslingers when they need to. Obviously, Lamar's more of a run style, kind of RPO run package option as he did in Louisville. Finds himself there in Baltimore, and I think Baltimore will work with those strengths. Whether or not they take full advantage of what he did in college is another story. We can look at the Houston Texans. They mimicked their entire system around what Clemson did to get Deshaun Watson to win the national title. So I think that when you work within your quarterback strengths, I think that ultimately they can be dangerous. If they continue to allow Lamar Jackson to have those types of dynamics shown and represented on the field, I think it's going to be something very, very positive for them. But I think the Steelers don't need to worry about that. They just need to keep winning. And I think if they continue winning, being able to stop the run. And when I say stop the run, I don't mean they've done it consistently, but coming into that Jaguar game, they were like fourth in the NFL being able to stop the run. They just, Fournette just ran all over them. But if they continue to stop the run on the line of scrimmage, and when I say on the line, I don't mean necessarily and I'm more referring to this upcoming game against the Denver Broncos. You own the line by being able to control that. You control the tempo. You control the motion. You control keeping the crowd out of it because they're very loud there. But I think overall, when you look at the Steelers offensively, they're going to give you a lot of different looks. AB is going to be in the slot. I'm just wondering. I'm waiting for a real breakout game from Antonio Brown. It's been here, it's been there, but I think when you look at the type of connectivity, it's not quite there yet. I think you're going to see that as the playoffs fastly approach because they are on their way. It's a different type of game, and I think that there's going to be different play calls offensively for Antonio Brown to get involved in the game, get those splash plays, get those touchdowns. He did have one against Jacksonville, but overall, when you look at the Steelers team offensively, there's just a lot of things that they need to do to continue winning, to continue, the first and shorts, second and shorts, third and shorts, and not worry and get caught up into what are we going to do on fourth down and not go for it when they don't need to, which has historically been the case. So it makes you wonder exactly where this team is going to be come playoff time. But as of right now, they're second in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs, and behind the Steelers are the New England Patriots. And the Steelers still have to play New England. So that's always a nail biter. It's always a fan's nightmare.
Yeah, that's the big obstacle for the Steelers. Can they beat the Patriots? And they're gonna get another crack at it, and they also play the Chargers, which should be a good game. It's like there's four teams trying for those top two spots for those buys. The Chiefs, the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Steelers, and we'll see how that all shakes out. If the Steelers are able to get one of those seeds, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. San Diego or LA, whatever you want to call them. And I don't say that to be disheartening, but I say that because they spent so much time in San Diego, and for them to have their first year in Los Angeles, I don't know if that was a better move. Does the record indicate that it was a better move? They've been so bad for so long, even when Dan Fouts was there, and all credit to Dan Fouts and what he was able to bring to that Charger offense. But never been a big believer in Phillip Rivers. But now I think they're starting to click. They're starting to fire, and they're doing. They're only second behind the Kansas City Chiefs or second in the AFC West. But I like what they're doing with the ball. The Steelers are going to have to give them different defensive looks, fire blitzes, taking Mike Hilton off the edge, kind of a suspended blitz, if you will, to get to Phillip Rivers. I think the Steelers are really going to have to continue fighting, playing their ball, their momentum, regardless of where they're playing, in order to. And to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of the first round bye, to be honest, because that kind of kills your momentum. It kills what you're trying to accomplish without having a bye. And I hate to use that whole 6C concept all over again, but it's true. The more momentum you have, you're going to carry that into every single game. So play style, play